We're going to be in chapter 48 of Genesis 48. We're going to jump right in. Israel, or Jacob, and all of his kids are down in Egypt now, and maybe about 70 of these boys, and they're going to be a great nation when they come out in the book of Exodus. But till then, he's going to leave us with Joseph, and for about 400 years, it's just going to be quiet. We're not going to know anything until we open up Exodus, and now they're slaves. Okay, and again, the strange thing is that when Genesis ends, every man in Egypt is a slave except the Jewish people. They're not slaves. And by the time you open up Exodus, the slaves have enslaved the free. Just absolutely backwards from what it's supposed to be here. Okay, so now he's coming into Egypt, and he's getting ready to meet with the Pharaoh. Chapter 48. Now it came about that after these things, Joseph was told, "Behold, your father is sick." So he took his two sons, Manasseh, he who has caused me to forget, and Ephraim, double fruitfulness. Now, when it was told to Jacob, "Behold, your son Joseph has come to you," Israel, Jacob, collected his strength, and he sat up in the bed. And Jacob said to Joseph, "God Almighty appeared to me at Luz." By the way, he has been here about 11 years now, okay? And Luz is the departing, like a fork in the road, okay? Luz, in the land of Canaan, and he blessed me. He said to me, "Behold, I'm going to make you fruitful and numerous, and I'm going to make you a company of people, and I will give you this land to your seed after you for an everlasting possession. Now, your two sons, who were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you in Egypt, they are mine." Now, Ephraim and Manasseh, right here is how they became two tribes rather than just Joseph's kids. Okay? So Ephraim and Manasseh, two tribes now. They do not belong to Joseph. He is adopting them, as it were. They should be mine as Reuben and Simeon are mine. And your offspring that you have born after them shall be yours. And they should be called by the names of their brothers in their inheritance. So it won't affect your inheritance. You're going to be okay with this, but the blessing is going to come through these boys. Now, as for me, when I came from Paddan, Rachel died to my sorrow. And in the land of Canaan on the journey, when there was still some distance to go, to Ephrath, and I buried her there on the way to Ephrath. Ephrath, he says, is Bethlehem, house of bread. Okay. And when Israel saw Joseph's son, he said, "Who are these?" And Joseph said to his father, "These are my sons, whom God has given to me here." So he said, "Bring them to me, please, that I may bless them." Okay, this is important. The seed blessing that God has given to these men is actually taking place. Okay, and so the blessing, when they pass it on, it has power in what's going on, right? Okay, and they can't undo it. Do you remember Jacob and Esau? Esau, his father said, "I can't undo this. He's going to be blessed. It's his. I gave him the contract. I gave him the deed. I gave him the inheritance. There's nothing left." And that what they were promising was actually going on. Okay, and so shortly he was in this context. Remember, Jacob. He's going to be speaking here as a prophet, and what he says will happen. All right, now. The eyes of Israel were dim. The word dim here is the word glory. You like that word? Heavy. That's all it is, okay? And by the way, why would I keep pointing that out to you? So you can see all these different contexts and where the word glory is being used, okay? It is not a positive word. It's not a negative word. It's anything, right? You're rich and magnificent, or you're just burdened down and serious. Okay. So his eyes were heavy, okay, from age, so that he could not see. Then Joseph brought them close to him. He kissed them and he embraced them. Israel said to Joseph, "I never expected to see your face." Those are incredible words, aren't they? "I thought you were dead." By the way, what would you do if your boy disappeared for years and you thought he was ripped to shreds by a lion, and one day you're looking at him? I'm guessing the first thing he thought was, "Boys, you guys, what have you been doing? I never expected to see your face, and behold, God has let me see your children as well." Joseph took them from his knees, and he bowed with his face to the ground. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim with his right hand toward Israel's left, Manasseh with his left hand toward Israel's right, because he wants his dad to reach out with the right hand and bless the firstborn. Okay? Do you remember what I told you about the firstborns in Genesis? The firstborn is never going to get the firstborn right. Okay? Nobody in here, the firstborn is the firstborn. And he brought them close to him. Israel stretched out his right hand, and he laid it on the head of Ephraim. So he does this. Okay? And who was the younger? And his left hand on Manasseh's head, crossing his hands, although Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph, and he said, God, before whom my father Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life to this day, the angel who redeemed me, that'd be the angel of the Lord, from all evil. Okay? By the way, all evil that's happened to him, and perhaps even all the evil that he's done. Okay? Bless the lads, and may my name live on in them. And when we open to the New Testament, we hear about the Israelites. Okay? In his name. And the name of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, may they grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. When Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand on Ephraim's head, and it displeased him, and he grasped his father's hand to remove it, and Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. Joseph said to his father, Not so, my father, for this one is the firstborn. Place your hand on his head. Okay? And again, typically this is, I think God is doing it this way because he sees the ultimate firstborn that's coming, because it's all about the seed all the way through Genesis. And when Jesus gets here, Jesus is not the firstborn of all creation, is he? No, but he's the firstborn from the dead of all creation. Okay? And therefore he is unique, and he gets that double portion. His father refused and said, I know, my son, I know. He also shall be a people, and also shall be great. However, his younger brother is going to be greater than he, and his seed or descendant will become a multitude of nations. He blessed them on that day, saying, By you, Israel, shall pronounce blessing, saying, May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. Thus he put Ephraim before Manasseh. Now notice that blessing that he did changes their status. That your physical birth does not matter anymore. Okay? It's just like when you become a Christian. You know, I can't tell you the day I called upon the Lord. I know it was September, and I was 20 years old. That's as close as I can get. Because at the time, I wasn't focused on the date. It didn't mean a lot to me here. So he put him ahead of them. Okay? And by the way, there's a great text in Chronicles. He says he took the firstborn right from Reuben, and he transfers it over to Joseph. Through Joseph, it goes to his two boys, and those two boys are two tribes. So Joseph, if you will, held the firstborn right as a type of Jesus Christ briefly. In the next chapter, all this is going to be transferred to Judah, the tribe of Judah. Okay. Then Israel said to Joseph, Behold, I'm about to die, but God will be with you and bring you back to the land of your fathers. I'm going to give you one portion more than your brothers. There's the firstborn right. See it? Okay, which I took from the hand of the Amorite with my sword and my bow. Now, when did he fight them? This could be nothing more than the battle of Shechem, when these two boys went in there. Okay, that was a little bit of an ignoble thing, for sure, and he had nothing to do with it, but his boys certainly did. Okay. Now, this next chapter is an amazing chapter. He's going to call his boys here, and he says, I'm going to bless you. And at the end of it, he said, so he blessed them. A lot of what we see in here will not look like blessing. When he actually confronts Reuben over what he did with the concubine of his father, etc. And so he demoted him. But you understand, the blessing for Reuben is that he needs brought down. Right? When he's up here and he's the big man, he's troubling everybody, and God brings him down. Okay. Levi and Simeon did mass murder. So he splits them up and divides them in the nation. Okay, so splitting them up and dividing them in the nation, this is their blessing. It may not look like a blessing to us from an earthly perspective, right? Okay. Do you remember the warning of the Apostle Paul, 1 Timothy 6? Those who want to get rich fall into many trials, temptations, and they pierce themselves with snares. Okay, you know what a snare is? It's when a little rabbit or whatever gets himself snared. Can he get out of it? No, he just sits there and flounders, okay? You understand? And so that will happen to a Christian as well. There's a time when God has to take us and literally just put us on the shelf and you just sit right there, okay? I'll be back in about 3 to 5 years, I think. And he's going to deal with this at that point in time. But if the Lord does that, that is the blessing that he's bringing to us. So keep that in mind. Some of this stuff will be positive, some of it will be negative, but even the negative stuff is a blessing from God. Blessing from God, okay? I think of Johnny Erickson taught us. She said, if I had not went through my problems that I went through, she said, I'd be on my 3rd marriage and skiing in Switzerland. She saw that very clearly, that she would not have survived with the Lord Jesus and going on with him. And many of us are the same way. We need to be saying, Lord, whatever it takes. And just don't tell me, just do it, kind of thing, right? And I got to tell you, my prayer for everybody at Whitestone is, may God bless you to the full possibility of blessing you while you're here, but never bless you in such a way that we never see you again, or you're divorced and skiing in Switzerland and having a great time because you've got $10 million in your pocket and that sort of thing. If you can handle that, good for you. And if you can't handle it, the blessing is to God keep you poor and humble if that's the case. Okay. All right. Now, verse 1. Now Jacob summoned his sons. He said, assemble yourselves that I may tell you what's going to befall you in the days to come. And again, at the end of this chapter, he's going to say, this is the blessings for you. Gather together and hear, O sons of Jacob, and listen to Israel, your father. Okay, number 1 is Reuben. Reuben, you are my firstborn. What does that mean? It means you are my might. It means you're the beginning of my strength, the head or the top of my strength. Okay? And it means you are preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power. Now, this is interesting, that word preeminent, because Colossians 1, Jesus Christ, because of who he is and what he's done, he's the firstborn of all creation, and he has preeminence in everything. And God has given that to him. Verse 4, okay? You're uncontrollable as water. You shall not have preeminence. The firstborn, you're out. Okay? Because you went up to your father's bed and you defiled it. You went up to my couch. Okay? What a horrendous thing. Unstable as water. This is the word for water, just literally is become foamy from jumping around through some things like that. It's like you can't control rapids kind of thing. Or boiling water that's boiling over the top of the pans and things like that. You understand what kind of character Reuben has? He's out of control. He's a boy out of control. He's a grown man. Okay? You're not going to get this. Now, at the end, let me say this again. At the end of this chapter, he's going to say, he just blessed Reuben. Right? I'm going to bring you down a few notches. Okay? And this is no different when a father says, I'm going to give you an inheritance, but I'm going to put a little codicil or a proviso in here that I'm not going to give it to you till you're 25. You can have everything then, but not till then, because your life and character does not do that. And it's not always bad when you're giving a child an inheritance to be good stewards of that and don't give him anything that's going to destroy him. I know our intentions may be good, but they may be harmful. Okay? So, Reuben is out. You're unstable as water. Okay? By the way, defiling he uses that term of his son. It's a vivid word. Verse 5. Simeon and Levi. Remember the Shechemites? Go mass murder the Shechemites, right? They're brothers. Their swords are implements of violence. These are violent boys. Okay? Let not my soul enter into their counsel. Simeon means counsel. Let not my glory be united with their assembly, because Levi means united. His mom gave birth to him, named him Levi, because she said, now my husband will be united to me, etc. And you'll notice, my glory, that which is heavy with me. I don't want anything to do with that. Because in their anger they slew, this is singular, a man. And in their self-will they lamed an ox. Okay, and again, singular here. I think he's talking about one man, and the one man would be, because an oxen or a bullock would be an expression for like a governor of a city. Okay? I think that's what he's talking about here. They went after him, they killed him, and took out everybody else with him. You should never have done that. Okay. Now, verse 7. Cursed is their anger. Literally, it's cursed with fruitlessness. And anger is just the word for noses. Cursed are their noses. Their noses are out of joint because it is fierce. Okay? And their wrath, because they're cruel. Both these boys are just violent. Cruel. By the way, we've gone through Jacob's family. How'd you like to have a family like this? I mean, you're traveling around, you got a couple of mass murderers, you got a guy who's wild and out of control. These are rough boys. Okay? Now, these words, I will disperse them in Jacob, and I'm going to scatter them in Israel, which is what the Lord actually did to them. Well, he took the tribe of Levi. Remember, they got the priest cities. That's all they got, a handful of cities. The cities of the priests. And they had no land. The Lord had them paced out from the walls of their little cities so far, and he said, that's it. You can farm this little here. So they got gardens, kind of thing. And most of what they got was animal hides and the meat and things like that from the sacrifices and some of the resources that came in the tithes. Some of that would be money, etc. But they don't have any opportunity to unite because they're scattered throughout this place, right? He does that, right? And then Simeon, he got no tribe. He got a handful of cities inside the tribe of Judah. And again, he's got these guys. He's got Levi and Simeon, these two brothers. They're better off without each other, all right? And so he separates them, and he. These are hard things, to do, but he's doing them. Okay, and again, even Simeon, both of them, they're scattered within their cities. They don't do well when they're together. Okay, they're trouble. They can be literally the kind of guys that can be stirred up for trouble. Okay, verse 8. Judah. This is an important chapter or section here. Judah is a lion's whelp. So in Revelation, when it says Jesus is the lion of the tribe of Judah, this is the verse. This is what it's saying. Okay, he's a lion's whelp. Okay. And Judah means praise. That's important here, okay? What am I at here? Okay. Judah, verse 8, your brothers will praise you. Okay, and because Judah means praise, that's what they will do to you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies, and your father's sons will bow down to you. Okay? Now we're taking the vision of Joseph, and we're transferring it from Joseph to Judah, who was unfit earlier because he's off with the Canaanite girls. And okay, Judah is a lion's whelp, the lion of the tribe of Judah. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He crouches down. He crouches down as a lion crouches down. And as a lion, who dares rouse him up? Okay? By the way, have you ever seen anybody just walk up out in the fields of Africa to a lion pride and say, hey, everybody get up? No. Because nobody would do that kind of thing. It's inherently dangerous, and it may not end well to go do such a thing, right? Nobody dares do that. And he's talking about Jesus Christ. Would you go mess with Jesus Christ? Not if you know who he is. Okay? Jesus is the lion of the tribe of Judah. You know what he's never done? He's never roared yet. And that's the problem. People think that he's just a lamb and you can push him over and you can do whatever. Okay? Satan is a roaring lion. You can pick him out of the crowd because you can, down in Africa, if you ever watch these outdoors movies over there, they're in Africa, out in the dark and in the distance, you can hear lions roaring. Well, if they're roaring, what do you already know about them? Well, does the lion roar when he's taking no prey? No, he doesn't. They've killed an animal. Okay, And so when you hear, when Peter says, beware, beware, Satan is like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And he's just told you, you can hear him, be careful. And the whole context before that is don't exalt yourself and don't be putting down your church leaders, okay? It doesn't say don't take your church leaders to task if they're sinning. You should do that for sure. But be careful. And he warned, he said, humble yourself so that God will exalt you. You can be in ministry. You can do all those kind of things in time when you're ready. But be careful, because Satan is looking for certain people. And that's the kind of person he's looking for, lifting ourselves up in pride, that sort of thing. Verse 10, the scepter is not going to depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet. Now that's an interesting expression. In the ancient carvings, the kings of the Middle East used to have a shepherd's staff, right? The crooked thing like that. And they would sit on their throne, and that staff would go right up here, and it would come down across their shoulder, just like this, and literally would stand between their feet. So the early kings were men who were seen as shepherding the people. All right? They're shepherds of the people. Okay? And the word for shepherd means feeder. They're responsible to make sure that everybody's healthy and take care and create a context where they can be taking care of themselves, right? All right, so Judah, the kings will come through them. Okay? Lion. Okay, until Shiloh comes. Shiloh or Shiloh is the proper pronunciation. Shiloh means peace or rest. So, which is interesting, there'll be no peace or rest ultimately until Shiloh comes. Now notice somebody's coming, and he is peace. To him shall be the obedience of the peoples. It's interesting, he doesn't say the obedience of your brothers, but everybody. Now, verse 11, I love this verse. Okay? He's going to tie his foal to the vine. And the word for foal, donkey, here is going to be the word for male donkey. Okay? And it's called to the choice vine. Now, we're talking about grapes, champagne, right? These, okay. And choice vines would be expensive vines, right? These high quality wines, champagnes, that sort of thing. Very expensive. Now, one thing that you would never do if you walked out into somebody's really expensive vineyard is tie your horse or your donkey up to those vines. You would never do that, because it would be too dangerous, right? He can take off and rip the whole thing out, that sort of thing. However, it's like there's nowhere else to tie the animal. This stuff there's so much of it, right? He washes his garment in champagne. He does his laundry in wine. Do you know that there are those in Christians who think Jesus has already come in the fullness of his blessing? Well, I haven't done laundry in champagne lately, but maybe you have. Okay? But you understand what's coming when Jesus gets back. This is incredible. This is incredible. Okay? And he washes his robe in the blood of the grapes. His eyes, they are dark. Darker than wine is the idea. Darker than wine. And his teeth are whiter than milk. His eyes aren't all bloodshot, right? In the kingdom that's coming, do you realize we're going to put all the dentists out of, Jesus is going to put all the dentists out of jobs. And the optometrists too. And the doctors too. And they shut down the hospitals. Good riddance to them. It'll be a wonderful day. All right. So we need Shiloh, the one who is peace, coming through the tribe of Judah. That day is going to come, and what a magnificent day. Okay. Verse 13, Zebulun shall dwell at the seacoast. Now that's interesting because Zebulun is inland. He does not live by the seacoast, but he's going to make his living there. Okay. So he'll be there, spending a lot of time there. And he should be a haven for ships, and his flanks should be towards Sidon. You guys know where Sidon is, remember? Sidonians, etc., on the Mediterranean. Okay? So Zebulun is not on the seacoast, but he's going to make his living there. He's actually halfway between the Jordan and the Mediterranean Sea. Okay? But he's going to be engaging in these maritime pursuits and commerce. Okay? All right, so here. Okay. He'll do that. Issachar. He is a strong donkey, literally a stout is the idea, a stout donkey here. Okay. Now what's this? He lies down between the sheepfolds or the saddlebags, or the idea is containers on both sides. He saw that a resting place was good, and that the land was pleasant, so he bowed his shoulders. He's stout, he's got a big strong animal here to bear these burdens, and became a slave to forced labor. Okay? Now, you see what he's doing here. This guy, you can enslave him so long as he's comfortable and he eats well. Okay? You can enslave him. Okay? Do you know there are men that can survive on assembly lines? They can be there all day and they're fine with it, kind of thing. I'd go batty, just on assembly line, standing in one spot for 8 hours and just doing whatever. But Issachar, this tribe, these guys are strong. They can handle that sort of thing, and they'll do it just fine, just fine. Okay, as long as he's making a comfortable living, you can enslave him just like a donkey or a beast of burden, etc. Dan means judge or judgment. Okay, this is important. Of all the tribes in the New Testament, in the book of Revelation, as you go into that 7-year tribulation time, the tribe of Dan is missing. Okay. However, the tribe of Dan is missing, but Dan is not missing. Okay, because in there you have an Antichrist, and it would appear that he may be actually from this tribe of Dan, which would also explain why the Jews would be comfortable making a covenant with him and letting him have tremendous power over their whole nation, right? And be an ambassador of their nation, but a very powerful man nonetheless. Okay, so Dan shall judge the people as one of the tribes of Israel. Okay, because his mother was concubine. Dan is Nahash, the serpent Nahash on the road. Now Nahash appears the first time in Genesis 3. The serpent that deceived Eve, his name is Nahash. That's what he calls him in Hebrew. It's also the color for bronze. He's a bronze-colored snake. Okay, and so he is Nahash. And so when Dan shows up later on in Revelation, it could be this person here. Okay, now he is also a horned snake or serpent. It's almost like they do a double stinger. It's a snake that's aggressive, right? There are those snakes which are even poisonous snakes that when they get around human beings, they flee. They want to get out of there, go away. Okay. Others will stay and fight. They're just aggressive. Okay. And they will not hesitate to strike. Okay. So literally, let me translate this whole thing for you. Dan is Nahash upon the path, an aggressive horned adder on the road, the one that bites the heels of the horse and its rider falls backwards. Okay, I find it interesting that he strikes from behind. He kind of lies in the grass, right? And he strikes from behind, dumps the rider off, etc. The rider going innocently down the road here. Okay, he falls backwards. Verse 18: For your salvation I wait, O Lord, O Yahweh. What's he waiting for? For God to do something with Dan. Okay. Verse 18, or 19, excuse me. How about Gad? For Gad, raiders will raid him, and he shall raid at their heels. Okay. Now, Gad carries the idea of being like a troop. Okay. And there's a play on the words here in Hebrew that's incredible. Okay. So it says Gad, raiders will raid him. In Hebrew, it's Gad, Gadud, Ye Gadunu. So it's Gad, will Gad, will Gad. Okay, and the forms are changing like with the verbs here. So you have 3 words that are Gad right in a row. Okay, so these guys are chasing him, but he shall raid. There's the word Gad again at their heels. That is, they're going to come down and capture some of his spoils, and he's going to be right on their heels getting after him when they're done. That's not a very good blessing. People are just going to keep stealing from you, and you got to keep chasing them down and go get your stuff. It's like, really, I don't want that blessing. Well, how about if it keeps you out of trouble? Would you want it then? Verse 20. As for Asher, his food will be rich, or literally, it's the king's food. Okay. Oiled food is the word here, okay? And he shall yield royal dainties or kingly sweets, kind of a thing. So from Asher the blessed, oil is his bread, and he shall give the pleasure of a king. Okay, he's going to be trafficking in some nobility and some very high-class things here, okay? Asher by itself, it's the same word for 10 and tithe. It's the same word for blessed is the man, etc. It means to progress and be blessed. So as far as earthly blessings, he's going to have them. He is definitely going to have those things in abundance, okay? All right. Naphtali is a doe let loose, okay? A doe, a ewe, female goat. It could be anything that's feminine and strong, all right? And so let loose means to go out, okay? And he gives beautiful words. Literally, it's the words of a shofar to blow a horn, okay? Joseph, verse 22. Joseph is a fruitful bough. Literally, is the son of fruitfulness, is what it says. Joseph is flat out fruitful, okay? And we've seen what he's done in Egypt. He's very fruitful, isn't he? A fruitful bough by a spring, and its branches run over the wall here. By the way, he carries the idea of all the springs that flow from the streams here. His bow remained firm. His arms were agile. For the hands of the mighty one of Jacob. Now notice the mighty one of Jacob is going to end up being the Messiah, and here we have Joseph is that type of that Messiah. From there is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. Okay, I thought that was going to be the tribe of Judah. Eventually, yes. But for now, he's going to hold that picture here, okay? For the God of your father who helps you, and by the Almighty who blesses you, with blessings of the heaven and blessings of the deep, and that which lies beneath, blessings of the breast and of the womb, okay? Blessings of the heavens and blessings of the deep. Okay. By the way, at this time, the blessings of the heavens are normal. They're not thinking about going to be with the angels. They're thinking about rain. Rain is considered a heavenly blessing here, kind of thing. So, and also blessings of the breast and of the womb with children. Okay. And the blessings of your father have surpassed the blessing of my ancestors. Upon the utmost bound of the everlasting hills, may they be on the head of Joseph. And on the crown, by the everlasting hills, the eternal mountains. Those are not earthly mountains, couldn't be. Okay? On the head of the one distinguished among his brothers. Okay? You like this word distinguished? Is the word Nazir. We get a word Nazarite. Remember a Nazarite vow? Where you separate yourself and you take an oath and swear to God, and you keep yourself pure. You won't be drinking wine. You won't be eating grapes. You won't be doing anything that might muddle your head, so you can walk closely with God. And that's what Joseph did. God separated him, but notice he didn't separate him for just that. The separation came through going into a pit and being sold. But God was separating him, so that Joseph could learn to be dedicated to God, something he couldn't do with his brothers around. Okay? All right. Benjamin, verse 27. Son of my right hand. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he devours the prey, and in the evening he divides the spoils. It's quite a name for your boy. He's a ravenous wolf. It's almost like you don't want to mess with this young boy. He bites, okay, and he divides the spoil. If you attack him, you might just actually lose everything you own. All right? Verse 28. These are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father said to them when he blessed them. There's that word. It's a blessing. What he did. He blessed them, everyone with the blessing appropriate to him. Now notice, everybody doesn't have to be scattered, but some boys do. Every boy doesn't have to be brought down and lose his chief bulk of the inheritance, but some boys need to lose it. Okay? I think. I was reading a story one time. This guy got a dog, and he said every day the dog would come outside with him as he got in his car to go over, And he'd run with a little ways down the road with his car. And he said he'd get out and he'd stop and he'd make the dog go back. Don't follow me, etc., etc., etc. But he felt a little emotional about the dog. He was kind of cute and all that kind of stuff. Well, one day he went out there, the dog got in front of his tire and ran over and killed it. All right? That's what cute emotion does, okay? It is not wrong to take that dog and make him stay. It is not wrong to take our children and make them stay and do some things because they're not always careful, okay? And so as he does differently with the way he blesses these boys, it's okay for us to do that differently according to the way we bless our children as well. Doing what's best for them and not being emotional about it, but just being matter of fact about it, okay? And hopefully, by God's grace, you won't even have any hard decisions to make. Let that be done. All right, so now verse 29. He charged them and he said to them, I'm about to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite. And we've already discussed all these meanings of these names. So in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre. Remember the oaks of Mamre when Abraham first arrived. Okay, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought along with the field of Ephron the Hittite for a burial site. There they buried Abraham, his wife Sarah. There they buried Isaac, his wife Rebekah. And there I buried Leah. Who's not buried there? Rachel. Husband, wife, husband, wife, husband, wife. Now, he could be buried with her on the way to Bethlehem, but no, bury me there with her. The field and the cave that is in it purchased from the sons of Heth. When Jacob finished charging his sons, he drew up his feet into the bed. He breathed his last and was gathered to his people. Okay? You'll notice what he does. He knows his time is getting close towards the end. Our time will come as well when we need to set our affairs in order, kind of thing, and make sure that we can do our best. I know there are Christians that are afraid of dying. They're afraid of death. Okay, it's the last enemy. Okay, it's okay. Don't worry about that sort of stuff. The apostles. Do you remember when they went up and met Jesus on the mountain? He floated off in a cloud. Right? Remember the story? And they watched him go, but it says some of the apostles, what were they doing? Do you remember? They were doubting. Okay? It doesn't matter that they're doubting. He gave them their marching orders. You go ahead and do that. I've known some scholars, some very men who have global names who serve the Lord faithfully. And they said, yes, they are afraid of passing away. J. Vernon McGee said he just got his doubts. He said, I've been a lot of deathbeds and a lot of things like that. But I can tell you this, when you get ready to cross Jordan into the promised land, remember the priests were down there on that dry bed. And it's not far, that's a little tiny, it's more of a canal than a river as far as size. It's not a very far journey, okay? And God will provide the grace that you need when you face that time. All right, now, very quickly here. Joseph fell on his father's face. He wept over him and he kissed him. Joseph commanded his servants and the physicians to embalm him. Okay, literally, this is the word. The purple spices is the idea. It's just I want my father spiced. It's a purple type thing, and they practice embalming in Egypt. And you'll notice the Jewish people do not practice embalming, but this is to get his body back. All right, his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel. Now, 40 days were required for it, and for such is the period required for embalming. And the Egyptians wept for him 70 days. They are grieving for a great man, and Joseph is certainly a great man. Now, when the days of mourning for him were past, Joseph spoke to his household of Pharaoh, saying, by the way, Pharaoh's household is his administration. Caesar's household says hi in Philippians 4. That's because Caesar's household is the administration of Rome. How's that for blessing from jail? It'd be like saying, the United States Senate says, everybody says hi. It's like, really? I thought you were in jail. Well, how did you get to speak to the Senate? How does that happen? And again, what God's going to do with men. Do you know, God raises up great men, doesn't he, in the Bible? We see men, by the way, when it says he raised them up, that means when they came to this earth, he gave them talents and equipped them, gave them abilities that they would not normally have, but he's equipped them for certain things, right? That's what he's done. And all of a sudden they're just brilliant and they can accomplish things that most of us could only dream about, but he's done that with that man, okay? And none of us, absolutely none of us, should be proud or take pride as if we've done something if God does something great through us, because it's him that did it. And where did you get your talents and your abilities in the first place? Okay, and maybe you got a lot of talents and a lot of abilities, but you're never going to have the opportunity. But be like Joseph when he's in jail. Man, I could organize concerts all over the world, but you're not. You're not going to do that. Your skills are going to be used by God some other time, kind of thing. And it doesn't mean anybody's less or anybody's more. It doesn't work that. It really does not work that way. I love the apostles. You guys are going to sit on 12 thrones. You're not going to get greater thrones. You're not going to be dethroned. That's just where you're going to be. Yeah, like that. So these are not thrones for the earning. These are where God's going to place us. And God is going to place us in the kingdom where he thinks we fit best. And also he's going to place us now where we are for what he thinks best, okay? And by the way, in case you don't think I'm not practicing that, I've had plenty of opportunities to leave here and go places where I could make a lot more money and speak to greater crowds. Okay, and I think the Lord didn't bring me here to move up the financial ladder or the glory ladder or any of that kind of stuff. I came to Payette to be at Payette. I don't plan on going anywhere until I'm done. Kind of thing. So it's the same for all of us. Just be content with where you are, blossom where you're planted, bear fruit where you're planted. Are you seeking great things? Seek them not, kind of thing. Having said that, there's nothing wrong with taking a promotion at your job and some things like that. It's a bit different, right? Now, the morning come here, he speaks to the household of Pharaoh, saying, "If I found favor in your sight of this administration, please speak to Pharaoh for me, saying, my father made me swear a 7, because it is a word for a 7, saying, behold, I'm about to die, and my grave, which I dug for myself in the land of Canaan, there you shall bury me. Okay, now therefore, please let me go up and bury my father, then I will return. Pharaoh said, go up and bury your father, as he made you swear the oath of the 7. And so Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the administration, and the elders, okay, and his household, and all the elders of the land of Egypt. That's incredible. This is all the elders. This is all the governors, all the mayors, everybody that's anybody. This is a huge entourage that's going down there. And by the way, they're going down there to honor the father of Joseph, this great man in Egypt, who saved their lives, and they're aware of it right now, okay? All the household of Joseph and his brothers and his father's household left only their little ones and their flocks and the herds in the land of Goshen. There also went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. Literally, it says a very glorious. This is a huge group of people, okay? And they came to the threshing floor of Atad. Atad means like thorn bush or things that stick you, beyond the Jordan, and they lamented there for a very great lament and sorrowful lamentations. Okay, and he observed 7 days of mourning for his father. This word for lamenting is the same word for Abel. Remember Cain and Abel? Same word that's here. Abel would appear he had some kind of a breathing problem here, and they're lamenting with their breath. Okay. And, when there's a great death and somebody that you love passes away, you find yourself grieving heavily at first, and then also heavily but different as time goes on. You'll find yourself as you weep for somebody that you love, you can find yourself walking around the house going, grabbing your breath, that shortness of breath. That's Abel, right? Okay. By the way, that kind of grieving is good, it's healthy, there's nothing wrong with that. We don't grieve as those who have no hope. My goodness, that's a horrible thought. When they came to the threshing floor of Tab beyond the Jordan, they lamented there great lamenting. Verse 11. The inhabitants of the land of the Canaanites, they saw the mourning and the threshing floor of Atad, and they said, this is a glorious, heavy mourning, for the Egyptian. Therefore they named it Abel Mizraim. Abel is the Lamentations with your breath, and Mizraim of the Egyptians, which is beyond the Jordan. By the way, they see all these Egyptians down there. Now understand what this is all about here. And thus his sons did for him as he had charged. His sons carried him to the land of Canaan, and he buried him in the cave in the field of Machpelah before Mamre. And Abraham had brought this along with the field of the burial site for from Ephron the Hittite. And after he had buried his father, Joseph returned to Egypt, he and his brothers, who had gone up to him to bury his father. Okay. Now, when Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "What if Joseph should bear a grudge against us and pay us back in full for all the stuff," and the word stuff is in there, all the stuff that we did wrong to him. You will notice something. These boys are not denying their sin, are they? We did this. We did wrong him. What if he uses the word for lurking? What if we're going to walk around the corner one day, he's been lurking there waiting for us to come around, he's going to pounce on us. So they sent a messenger to Joseph. By the way, literally the Hebrew says they sent a messenger commanding Joseph, saying, "Father charged before he died, Dad said this," and Dad never said this. "Thus you will say to Joseph," did he tell anything to Joseph? Not a word. "Please forgive, I beg you, the transgression of your brothers and for the sin, for they did you wrong." Anybody know where that verse is, where Jacob did that? "Now therefore, please forgive the transgressions of your servants and the God of your fathers." And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. I think he's just grieved for these boys. Then his brothers also came, fell down before him, and said, "Behold, we are your servants, or we are your slaves." Joseph said to them, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God?" Saying, "I'm not going to do this." I think that's what grieved him. "You think I'm going to kill you and harm you? I'm not going to do it. As for you, you meant evil against me." Okay? You'll notice he doesn't pretend like it didn't happen, and he doesn't act like it was no big deal. It was a big deal. "You meant evil for me, but God meant it for good." Okay, the word "meant" is literally schemed or planned. You had a plan to harm me, but God had a plan to do good. Okay? In order to bring about this present result, to preserve many people alive. This isn't just you, but many people, many nations. Yeah? And, the sovereignty of God is important in everybody's life, mine, yours, etc. Because what do you do when you've harmed somebody and you can't undo what you've harmed? Okay, you can't undo it. You can say, "Listen, Lord, what I did was wrong. I know it, and I can't undo it. You can use this for good things, kind of thing, and you can bless, and you can do those things, and leave this to God, so you don't go batty or insane." Verse 21. "So therefore, do not be afraid. I'm going to provide for you." Literally, the Hebrew says, "I'm going to be everything for you and your little ones." So he comforted them, and he spoke kindly to them. Now, Joseph stayed in Egypt, he and his father's household. And Joseph lived 110 years, not a bad stint. Joseph saw that the third generation of Ephraim's sons, and also the sons of Machir and the sons of Manasseh, were born on Joseph's knees. That is, they're born, he puts them on his knees. By the way, on the knees is a place of blessing. Okay? Word knee and blessing, same word. And Joseph said to his brothers, "I'm about to die, but God will surely take care of you and bring you up from this land to the land which he promised in an oath to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob." And Joseph made the sons of Israel swear, that's their seventh thing, swear, saying, "God will surely take care of you, and you shall carry my bones up from here." You like this old guy? I want to go home. This is not it. So Joseph died at the age of 110 years, and he was embalmed and placed in a coffin in Egypt. Okay? Now this is quite a journey from Adam to where they are right now. They're free. Life is good. They're being taken care of. It won't be very good after this. Okay? After this. When Exodus opens up, remember the story, they're slaves. Because it says a new Pharaoh or a new king rose up who did not know Joseph, had no idea what Joseph had done. And you know what? How often does history repeat itself? Every generation. Nobody remembers the past. Ecclesiastes. A great army came and surrounded a city. And in that city there was a poor man that nobody really knew. And the poor man had the wisdom and delivered the city. Okay, that's something? It says, and after the poor man delivered the city, nobody remembered him. Right? Thank you very much. Moving on. And that's what they do. Okay? I'm very clear in my mind that once I pass from this world, I'm probably not going to be remembered very long. Okay? We're all here for the, right? Because there's a new heaven and a new earth coming, and that's the land of the living. And life will be good there. And we'll be all remembered forever. Forever. Father, thank you for our time. We do worship you. Thank you for the completion of Genesis and the journey through it and all that we've learned from Adam and the sin and the seed of the woman that's coming. And Lord, how Seth replaced Abel when Cain killed him and as a type and picture of Christ. The gospel of the names that we ran into. And even Noah will give us rest from the curse of this earth. And Noah's boys, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, but you will be found in the tents of Shem. And we come down to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Abraham, the father of a multitude, sends Eliezer, God the Comforter, to a foreign land to get a bride for the promised son for Isaac. And there's the Trinity and the hope of your son. And so Isaac and Jacob and his boys and the Lion of the tribe of Judah is coming. Shiloh's coming. And we will all be returned to our inheritance, to what you have for us. Lord, may we not fear the things of this world, but fear you. May we not fear death. And our trials, thank you for our trials, Lord. These are not all bad. Job ended his life by saying, but goodness, I see you now. I only heard, it was all hearsay before, but now I see it, I know it, I've experienced you. And we're doing the same thing. Lord, we cry during intense pain and sorrow, because things are painful and sorrowful. But Jesus cried as well, frustrated and all those things. And at all points tempted like we are tempted. Lord, and also as the apostles, some were doubting as you left here and they watched you go. Doubting is not sin. It takes a mature man to face his doubts and then do what's right and go serve as you have directed him. I love and praise you and thank you for this evening in your holy name. Amen.